Hi, hello there YouTube. Today I'm just going to start marking out where my diesel litres going, and I'll try and take you through the step by step, so you've got to forgive me. It's fully zoomed out. Let's see if I can move it back a tad, because I'm likely to give you a clout. Right. I've already marked it. Now I'm going to just put a test pilot hole through the floor. If I can find a decent drill bit. Right, I'm going to drill the back one first. Of course, the other thing is, have I got enough, long enough drill? Yes, I have. Right. Now I'm going to get the other camera, and I'm going to turn that on. My poor little GoPro. Right, there you are. There I am. Alright, I'm going to go outside.
What it was 20, 30 years ago, workplaces that have been revolutionised. I remember in the 80s the Green Party saying that this boom is a bad thing. We're the only people saying it, the late 80s. And pointing out that, you know, the bigger the boom, the busier the gridlocked our cities are, so there's a whole environmental thing going on there. We never get home, etc. Now, do you feel you...
Right, that's that hole cut. Now, if I turn my screen around as I can see me, right, got my tank cutters out, so I got that one. I'm going to use him. If you look at the other parties and what they were standing for in 2017, staggering statistic. There was just 2% difference. 2% difference between Labour and Conservative spending plans. You know, you always thought there was a big difference. Actually, there wasn't. There was just 47 billion out of a total budget of 800 billion. Right. We'll go to the one side. That's the laminate gone. I want the screwdriver to be able to poke them out. It makes it a lot easier if they're out of the way. That's the laminate. And there's some insulation, and there's more insulation. Then there's the subfloor. I've just gone through the insulation.
it's, well, oh, bloody hot. It's half a finger's depth. No, I don't know whether I can get it. Oh, it is. It's a coming.
Why would we tax the whole value of the estate rather than the tax of the recipient? Why does someone who is, sitting on a wealth of 10 billion, 10 million pounds, pay the same tax when they inherit as someone who has nothing in the bank?
Now see,
Surely that's unfair. It should be
Brett, if you would have said you could have had those for wheels for your van, or is that small? Now the metal floor. Put that on slow speed. Oh, that dropped out on the floor. Yep. Oh, get my finger out there now. Only trouble. Right, I use a solid exhaust on mine. I know they're a bit of a pain if you park next to them, no silencer, but there is, you can, it is stretched, so you could put a silencer on the end of it. So, oh, now I've just got a duplicate clip. Right, it's out there, it's not hurting. Right, that's the one all done. I've already marked it. I went for the more expensive core cutter, tank cutter, or whatever you call them, because specifically to be able to get through metal. There's a lot of these cheap ones, they'll only do wood and soft materials, and this goes through metal like no problem. That's it. There's the rest of the insulation in there. Oh, just chock a block full of insulation now. See if I can get a lot of it out. Right, the only thing that's not on there now is the holes for the bolts. I shall mark those quite carefully. Pencil. Clear that sawdust away. Sweep it outside is the best, isn't it? Right, in theory, that should drop down in the hole, just like that. Now, I hear a lot of you saying, what's all this white horrible goo? It's because I've left the cover. I had the cover off, and I've left the cover down my lock-up, and I just don't fancy driving all the way down there to fetch it. I'm going to bore. I don't know whether you can see it or not. Let's move my screen. Yeah. I'm going to bore a hole in the locker. I'm going to put a duct into there and run it right the way through. There's going to be an outlet here, an outlet inside the box, inside this front seat. That one there I might take over and put up the front, push it up as so it goes into the cab. One in the front here to let out into the van, and one, maybe two outlets at the back. They'll all have their own little shutters on them, so you can shut them down, so you've got pressure on all of them. Or I can put it all the way up the back. I can put it all onto one, just as though it's variable heat throughout the van. I don't see the point of just having heat in one end of the van. This is such a long van, little tiny van maybe. And one of these in your van, Brett, if you had one of these in your van, it's one of the best. One of the best heaters you can have. They're expensive, but yours would be on a thermostat. You wouldn't have to worry. Just turn it on and leave it. It wouldn't overheat your van. Turn it right the way down on the thermostat and it'll just keep your van warm. Like in such a large van like this, you know, it's the size of 4 football pitches. It'll be running flat out most of the time. Saying that, it is, what is this one? It's he's only the 1800 watt. A 1 watt in your van, Brett, would be ideal. This size van really wants a 3 kilowatt one, just because it is so large. But there again, right, that's in there. Now is all I got to do is go down underneath. I don't think the bolt's going to be long enough, so I'm going to have to take the bolts out of there and put some longer ones in. As you can see, they're only little tiny short bolts, and I've got a good inch and a half there, so I've got to get some longer bolts, which is good enough. You just take the studs out of there and put the bolts back in their place. Just put 2 nuts on it and unscrew them. There's a rubber gaiter on top of it. There's a fair depth in the thing, so it goes up inside of the body. Right, this is an old Eberspatcher. I've had it 10-15 years. When I was out in the country, I used to I cut a hole in the wall in the workshop so I could heat my office, and it ran virtually 24/7 heating my office on a thermostat. Never gave me any trouble. As you can see by the fuel filter, it wants changing now. I've got another one there. I used to run it through with red diesel. Works just as well. I can unplug that now because that's the fuel pump. Nice little tiny tick pump. Tick 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 tick. You buy that from Eberspatcher. He's 80 quid. I think I paid 50 odd off eBay for it. I can go to the back. I don't need that for a while. Right, I got to go and find some bolts now. Right, catch you in a while. Right, I'm back. I found some longer bolts. Right, I've put it in the hole. I'm just putting a bit of tape around it. Gone as deep as I dared go with the bolt before I tighten it up. Pull it back out. Now I've got a fair length of thread there. Right, but I need to know whether when I put it in the hole, right, if it's going to screw up too tight. And looking at that, it's going to screw up too tight, that it's going to pop the cylinder because the red tape's above the floor. Well, actually, it's flush with the floor. So by the time I got the washers on there, it should be okay. So is all I got to do now is try and find the washers. I don't know what the hell I did with them. So right, catch you in a minute. Could have told me it was slightly twisted. There, that one hurt. Yeah, that one hurt. Right, so, yep. I'm going to run him in through the seat, run him all the way to the back, and tee off him in several places. I've got several tees, but I've got no outlets at the moment. I've got to water them. The air intake will come out of the box it's going to go in, because I'll box round it. I'll move that in a minute. Box round it, so it's nice inside. It won't get hot because the air going through it'll suck it into the box and cool the box down. So I'll run a tee first of all here, straight back over, as if it blows it up beside the step into the driver's compartment. It'll get the driver nice and warm, so the passenger. I don't sit in that seat. I suppose really I should, and of course this is too close. This is going to be too close. I've got a lead somewhere I've made up. I don't know what I've done with it. With a piece of trailer wire, 7-core cable, and so I can run that up. Sort of, I'll run it up into the panel that's above the cupboard here. I've got, if I can just move you around it, in my fuse box there is a conduit that runs up, and I've got tracer string through it, so I can pull a 7-core cable up there, so I can connect the rheostat up the top, and then it's only matter of just plugging it in. As I say, it was in the I've had it in several vans and God knows where in the office, so it'll work. I'm not confident I could turn it on now if it was connected to the diesel, which I will do in a while. Because at the moment I just got Crocs on it. As I say, I was running it off just an ordinary battery and heating my office. Right, okay then. I didn't turn the other camera back off. Right, catch you in a minute. Right, peeps. There. Heater's in. The controller's there at the moment. Right, the heat blows out that way, gets sucked in there. That's the ambient air out of the van, blown out of there. There'll be T-piece there, right, and it'll come up across. It'll come up across the front and down to there, and it'll blow it up that footwell, and so it heats the front of the cab. The other side will go through this box, right the way along the van, and it'll come out at the end of the bed and blow down that end, and that'll keep that warm. I can't really all put it this end because all the framework is in the back of there for the seat belts, so most probably the batteries are in there. There is an empty space there, so I'll come over the top of the batteries and I'll come out in the floor there somewhere. So I've still got everything upside down in here, so it'll come out at the bottom there. And yeah, you're not the only one. Why have I got two? Well, that's just an extension. That's just an extension. You can buy those. If you've got one of those annoying seat belts that keeps telling you that you haven't got your seatbelt on, buy one of those, plug him in, and that's automatically turn the switch off. So you no longer get the beep beep beep. I bought it as an extension. I do use it on the front. I got, you know, you buy them as a pair. I've got another one on the front there somewhere. When he's in the glove box for when my mum gets in. She don't like tight seat belts, so that extra couple of inches helps. So she says anyway. And so that's in. I just at the moment he's only crocked. Got the crocodile clips on him, just to the battery. I've run the fuel pipe through, and I'm not opening the bonnet and that now because it was a nightmare. I've put the run the pipe right the way along the chassis, up the side of the fuel tank. It's either drop the fuel tank out, right, and that's a big job, and you never guarantee that the bolts that hold the tank up, because they're captive. This is 2007. The bolts are captive, and if you undo those and they shear off, then you're absolutely knackered with a fuel tank dragging the floor. So I wasn't prepared to do that. So I've run the fuel pipe all the way up to the front and connected it to the fuel filter up the front, just before the fuel filter, because there's a pump in the tank. It pressurizes it up to there. Then of course the injector pump also pumps it at the same time. The injector pump pumps it faster than the one in the fuel tank. That's as though it doesn't over pressurize the fuel filter, and so then it's taken off that, comes all the way back up, round and underneath the van, connects to there. So that's all done. Inline fuse, I've just put that in there to join the two wires. I can unplug it when I want to. It's the fuel pump wires. A lot of you asked what the extra little black plug was. That's for when you do take it into an Eberspatcher dealer. They can plug it into their computer, and it does store codes. So whatever's wrong with the thing, it stores a code. They'll read it and they'll tell you what's wrong with it. Again, it's like most cars. If you've got two problems gone wrong, it can tell you a third item, and it's a matter of elimination then. But now is all I got to do is make my box. It's supposed to forecast to start raining around about 4 or 5 o'clock. So I don't know what the time is now. It's got to be around about the 3-4 o'clock now. So that's something I can do in the shed tomorrow. I'll make a box to go around there, big enough to get the pipe work through. I haven't got the pipe work. I know what diameter it is. I've got to go back down the workshop and find all my my T-pieces to be able to run it through. So I only want 2 T-pieces, one there, one inside the seat to come out there, and that's a straight outlet over there. So you don't I was undecided whether to put a small pipe into the base of the wardrobe, because underneath the wardrobe on the floor is the hot and cold water tank, and it just help to keep the frost off it if it ever frosts up. I don't see as it will inside the van. It'll want to be really a long way below to get through all this insulation. So never mind. But 3 outlets. Yeah, 2 outlets in the back, 1 in the front. That'll be plenty in this vehicle. And of course, by putting it through into the cab, it'll help to keep the front de-iced as well. Because that is the absolute coldest place in the van, is in the driver's cockpit, the 2 front seats, because you just can't insulate the windows. These are double glazed, and none of that. I put the blinds down, and I put my insulation in first, then I put the blinds down. In fact, I can shut that now. I usually leave it shut at night. But if you have a look, if you can see, it's not on at the moment. If I flick him on, look, you can see he's turned green. So that means he's on. If I come round the back of it, I don't know whether you can see, the fan is going round. You'll hear it fire up in a second. you'll hear the tank. The fuel pump is around about there underneath. You should hear it. There. That's because I've only zip tied it straight to the chassis at the moment. The rubber mount thing is down the lockup as well somewhere. I couldn't find it yesterday. It just shut off. I don't like doing it because there's no diesel in it. As I say, I'm just waiting for the Jubilee clips up the front. That's why I haven't connected it there. I got the wrong ones. Those are way too small. I want 10 mils. Yeah, it'll shut down. Loads of draft coming out of there. So just make a nice box. It's not going to interrupt with the bed too much. It's not going to interfere with the seat when you sit in there, because when you sat down, you know, that's 26 inches wide, I think that is. So it won't interfere with the bed, because that seat spins round, faces backwards. The table drops down, hooks into that rail, 2 legs at the front, supports that end, and so it'll be totally under the table. As I say, if it blows up past there, I'll put a vent, a little block in there, and I'll put a vent in there, and whoever sat in sleeping in this front bed, they're going to get nice and toasty. But there again, there'll be a shut-off vent on it, you know, shut-off valve, so I'll be able to shut it off. Okay, I'm just waffling. Bye.